Dude, check out my neighbor right over here, spending over $1 million on that house. And I wonder if he's feeling a little bit like a nincompoop. Like, did I build at the wrong time? It's like at an all-time high to build, the market's going through the roof. Was this a smart decision, or should I have just rented and waited for this whole market shift to abate? And I gotta tell you right now, I got people everywhere lighting me up. Kris, rent or own? Like, which should I do in this really weird, bizarre economy? And I've got some stats and some data that should freak you out, because we're seeing something historically happen that has never happened before. Come on.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! I'm turning dreams into reality. Yeah, it's one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Now listen, I'm not trying to be rude to my neighbor and say, man, you shouldn't be building a house right now. I mean, I'm a hypocrite. My wife and I right now are getting ready to pour millions of this right next door into an addition, adding to our house. And I gotta be honest, like, I've asked myself, am I paying a few more $1 million than I should just because of the timing in the market? Is that a smart investment, especially with the looming recession? And once they do reporting, we're gonna see exactly the cliff that we're headed over. And it's leading to this question right here. Kris, renting versus buying a home. Like, we're always saying that you should own. We're always saying that it's smart to own a house. But in this economy, does that still hold up? Is that really, really, really true and not true? And you know what? Today we're gonna dive into the details, and we're gonna talk about when it makes sense to rent and when it makes sense to buy. So let's take a look at some data. This comes directly from John Burns Real Estate Consulting, or I found this tweet right here at JBREC. They produce a lot of data about what's happening in the real estate market, and they came out with a really interesting graph, but it started first with this tweet. Check it out. A little over a year ago, the monthly cost of owning, as we calculate it, and renting were virtually identical, which meant that buying versus renting, everything was pretty much the same. However, now, owning a home costs on average $839 more per month than renting. This differential is almost $200 higher than at any time during the last century. In other words, we're at a historic disparity. In other words, there are times when owning is a lot more expensive than renting. Right now, it is on a per month basis, $200 even higher than the highest high we've ever seen in the century. Now, right now you're thinking, what am I supposed to make of this? I got a tangent for a moment, because we are stepping into a recession, and a lot of people get really worried and fearful. And frankly, a lot of this video today is about addressing some of that fear, because your mindset can make you or break you. And so how is this relevant right now? In 2008, when the real estate market crashed because we had too many homes on the market, we had too much supply and not enough demand. A home is only worth what someone's willing to pay. So when no one was willing to buy the extra homes, prices dropped dramatically. Everyone ran in one direction, and I took Mr. Warren Buffett's advice, which is when people are fearful running in this direction, go in the opposite and be counter-cyclical. What I did over the next 5 years was I stepped into the auction system and I started buying beautiful brand new homes that went back to the banks. I bought them at insane, like massive discounts, like $300,000-$400,000 homes that I could buy for $150 grand. And within 5 years, me and my investors made over $100 million. Now that's all in my track record on my last $1 billion worth of real estate. I'm bringing that to your attention because I'm about to show you a graph. And what I need you to take away from it is that even though things are running in this direction and people are saying, oh no, in the century, this is the most historic difference we've ever seen. This is the historic highest rate climb or the highest inflation. You gotta get excited about that. Because in a recession, when you go from spring, summer, fall, people are making all this money, and then boom, it drops into winter, everyone says that's the worst of times. What I'm about to share with you is the best of times, because anytime you get historic lows or historic highs, it means that a recession is about to produce historic problems. Solving those problems is what makes the rich richer and the poor poorer. So fall in line right now with what I'm about to share with you. This smells of some of the biggest opportunity we've seen since 2008. So check it out. John Burns followed up that tweet from his consulting organization with a graph. And you know how they say a picture can be worth 1,000,000 words? This one is worth $100 million if you understand what I'm about to teach you. So what you're going to see here is the cost of ownership at a premium. And this is the zero mark. At this zero mark, it is neither more advantaged to own or rent. But everything above this line in blue has to do with, it's becoming way more expensive to own, you better consider renting. Everything in red below the line says, it's time to buy real estate because it's way cheaper to own than it is to rent. Does that make sense? So here's what this graph is telling us. At 2006 to change over 2007, right before the 2008 recession, people were paying maximum price for home ownership. And basically they were sitting at about $650 a month more they were willing to pay than if they were renting. And so it was expensive to own a home. But then the market completely fell out October 2008. At this point, I'll never forget where I was when I was in the process of buying this property with the bank. It was an investment property and the bank was gonna give me a 6% interest rate. And then all of a sudden they bumped it to 16. And I'm like, you want me to pay a 16% interest rate? That was their legal way of getting out of me signing on the deal because no one's gonna sign on a 16% interest rate deal. Within a month, that bank folded and went out of business. So all of a sudden, it was for the next, 5 years that actually purchasing a home was the most advantageous time. Well, let's fast forward to where we are in this economy since the pandemic, the last 2 years. The cost of home ownership has gone up so high. This is the highest peak in the century, which means that we are $200 higher per month than even this point. It means that if you rented, on average, you would save that over $800 a month payment. Why on earth would someone own a home when renting is so much cheaper? Well, guess what this graph did? When it went live, it kicked up a hornet's nest and the public weighed in and they started tweeting and chiming in and social meeting and saying, let me tell you what we think about that graph and what you're saying about real estate. That's impossible. They're saying renting only has negative connotation. You should own. Guys, these are lies about home ownership, and I'm about to show you just how confused society as a whole is. Check this one out. Business in the stock market will always outperform real estate. Hello? Are you the dumbest human on earth? Did you check out the last 2 years? Are you not aware what's happened? The market's gone up 40%, leveraging 80% of the bank's money. That's equivalent to almost a 200% ROI. When did the stock market ever deliver that for you? No! Number 3, home ownership is a trend of the past. This almost started to feel true because a decade ago, 70% of this country had people buying homes, 30% was the rental market. It was projected with the millennial generation that 70% of home ownership was gonna drop to 60%. And it started moving in that direction. It was supposed to drop to 59%, but guess what happened? A pandemic. And there was a resurgence. Home ownership became the most important thing again, because guess what? If you're not gonna work at an office, you're now gonna work where? At freaking home. So all of a sudden people became super interested in home ownership. It is not a thing of the past. It's actually the hottest trend in the game of real estate beyond commercial, multifamily, or anything. Single family home ownership is a big deal. And then number 4, avoid debt at all costs. Thank you, courtesy of Dave Ramsey. Avoiding debt at all costs are the lies that people hear about this game of home ownership. I'm gonna tell you right now that debt is a weapon against your life when you're buying consumer debt, racking up your credit cards, buying things you can't afford, or going to college senselessly for a really expensive degree that's not gonna help you in the marketplace when what you were really after was market skills, right? That kind of debt isn't serving you. But please be aware, the wealthy are masters of leveraging debt to make money, where debt is a friend, not a weapon. Debt is not a saboteur, it makes you money. The question you have to ask is this debt making you money or losing you money? You're about to make a really important decision that's gonna affect the next 5 years of what you do during this recession. What's more important to you, being right or being wealthy? If you want to be right, side with the masses. They're all going to be wrong. Everyone's running in this direction. And just like Warren Buffett said, go in the opposite direction. That's where the greatest opportunity is going to be. Right now, real estate has become so expensive, you should be asking. That's a problem. In the last century, that is now a historic proportion problem. People can't afford to own a home. Do you think that in the opposite direction, that might afford some huge opportunity? Well, in a moment, I'm going to share with you exactly where that opportunity lies. Why is this such good news for you? Check it out. Number one, a primary residence isn't an investment, but a rental property is. You should now be thinking more than ever, wait, if real estate is making gains like that, and if we're about to shift into an economy where you can get it at the lowest and best prices, shouldn't I actually be in the game of real estate? And the answer is yes, but I'm gonna tell you that even though the prices have gone through the roof, I've purchased a certain type of real estate that is insulated from all of that drama that is making me money in both up and down markets. Number two, if renting is more appealing for people, then vacancy rates are going to go down. This means, wait a second, we're about to move into a cluster of everyone flooding the rental market. And guess what you want to own when everyone is flooding the rental market? You want to own the right kind of rentals. Did I say rentals or lentils? I hate lentils. I love rentals. The Fed has already told us that they're gonna keep increasing the interest rates, so you need to lock in the rates right now. They're not that bad. They look horrible compared to what we've had because the government basically dropped them to nothing so they could stimulate the economy. But these are great rates for buying income-producing properties with great cash flow. And lastly, because of inflation, rents are definitely going to rise quickly, and that means that you can cash flow your property sooner. Right now, rents have not caught up to these increased prices. But guess what comes? Because the purchase prices of properties have risen so highly, guess what rents are gonna do? They're gonna skyrocket. The disparity of, oh no, it's $850 a month more to own than rent, means that rents are probably gonna rise several $100s in a very short period of time. And what does that mean for you? It means that, again, if you're on the right side of the fence, the opposite direction society is telling you to run in, that's where the biggest opportunity lies. Okay, Kris, where is the opportunity right now? It's right here, my friend. Think counter-cyclically to become wealthy. You have some choices. You can say, wow, Kris, this was huge information. I'm gonna subscribe. But I think you should do more than that. If you're sitting on any kind of equity in a property, or if you have money in a 401k or an IRA and you're thinking, man, I need to find the right kind of real estate to get into, but I don't really know how to do it, I got news for you. I partner with people all over the world that have money sitting in 401ks and IRAs and equity in their home. They'll click the link below. They'll talk to a member of my team after filling out a little form, and my team will interview you. I take a limited number of people into partnership with me where I will go into the right markets, meaning out of 324 markets, I only buy in the top 5. I'll take you into the right markets. I'll do all of the work, hundreds of hours, 200 professionals, and you don't have to do any of the work. But we'll split all the profits equally 50-50. So if you really want to take advantage of this like I did back in 2008, click that link and let's get this partnership rolling right now. Are you worried about inflation? Well, you should be. You should be slicing through it, taking advantage of everything it has to offer. Inflation, opposite from the media has told you, is actually a really good thing. You just got to be on the right side of the fence. In fact, inflation is your friend. Repeat after me. Inflation is my friend. And if you want to know how, watch this video. I'll show you how to turn inflation into your next fortune.